Celebrate Joburg this weekend with a glass of bubbly overlooking this majestic city from its rooftops.
Kennedy and I teamed up with the City Sightseeing Bus, which is the red open-top bus in Johannesburg. And our plan was to look at how we could create new routes and new ways for people to see the city. I think given the timing, people feel quite alienated from Joburg and from where they live. And for the last 2 years have really not been connecting to this place. And we wanted to sort of come up with a very easy way for people to see the city in a fresh new light. It's geared towards anybody who really has an appetite for exploring Joburg. And from the events that we've run so far, it's been really interesting to see that the audience is incredibly diverse. There are people who will come on their women who will come on their own. There are young people, there are groups of friends, there are couples. We've had a number of diplomats from Pretoria. We've had quite a number of people who are sort of part of Joburg's different foreign language communities. So very hard to pin it down to, it's more around a sensibility than it is around a demographic.
What is the primary focus of this event? Is it to get people into the city or to create an awareness around the city? I mean, what's the focus?
I think to some extent this event, and so this is part of a series. And at the moment we're running 2 different routes and they alternate. So the one that we did last month was called the Iconic Views Experience, where we actually took people to a heritage house in Parktown, a fine example of Victorian architecture. And then from there went to Ponty. So the idea is to give people different views of Joburg, different views of the city, but again to attract people back to what is the heart of Joburg, which in many ways has sort of lost its footing, and even more so over COVID.
How did the collaboration between the two of you come about?
We've been talking about this, of working together in a long time, I think, yeah? Over coffee and, yeah.
A lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee. So yeah, we started with, I think there was a Jacaranda experience, which, yeah. And Johannesburg in Your Pocket, they've actually been covering, especially from the micro adventure tours point of view, featuring all the experiences that we do. And yeah, then from there we thought, well, we could work together in some way. And yeah, we thought, well, let's come up with this. How is it going to be different, and what will be of value to the people around Joburg?
What can people expect on the day?
Delicious bubbly, which is always a feature. So it always starts with a sort of signature bubbly moment, which is at Munro Drive. And the idea around that is that from that viewpoint, you see Joburg's incredible treescape. You can see all the way past Sandton. You can sort of see mountains in the very far distance. And the idea is really to say that the city is such a contrast of places that while we start there, we then end up in quite gritty parts of the city. So for the Rooftop Sunset Tour, we take people to Braamfontein, we go to the Parktonian, to the rooftop, where it's actually a 360-degree view of the city. And Kennedy gives people a sort of place-making understanding of the city, which is fascinating, because from there you can see everything from mine dumps. So it goes right back to what Joburg was built on, to the much more modern sort of structure of the city. And then from Parktonian, we then go to Hallmark House, which is in sort of Doornfontein side, Maboneng side, which has an incredible view really over the city, but also of Hillbrow's really dense, sort of New York-looking landscape at night, which is quite an incredible thing to see. So the idea is to mix places and spaces that just also talk about the things that are important to both of us, which is the identity, the things that make Joburg, the interesting people, the sort of sense of place, that like urban grittiness, and to highlight that rather than hide anything about the city. It's what makes the city actually such an interesting place, is its diversity and that incredible landscape.
Kennedy, let's talk about tickets. Where can people buy them? Where can people get more information about the event?
Okay, so you find out more information on microadventuretours.co.za website as well as Johannesburg in Your Pocket, and the tickets are on Quicket, right? So on the bio Instagram as well. Yes. Of Joburg in Your Pocket, you actually find all the information there.
I'm Mpho Phalatse, your Executive Mayor for the City of Johannesburg. I'm a medical doctor by profession and the first black woman to wear the mayoral chain in the City of Gold. After the first few months in office, it's a tradition to report back to your residents on progress made. In spite of the delays in formulating our multi-party government coalition, which is without doubt the largest this country has seen to date, I sit here today to report back to you on our performance during the first few months of our administration, the Golden Start. In our Golden Start, we addressed key areas that are broken and need fixing, and also aimed to achieve specific goals in order to get the basics right. The multi-party government approved a 77 billion rand budget. We've taken a tough stance against households, businesses and government departments who default on paying their municipal accounts. The city has approved the building of 10 new clinics to care for our residents. 1,800 new JMPD officers have been trained, and 1,100 new social housing units are being built. I also must acknowledge the brave men and women from our health services who led the fight against COVID-19. Without each and every one of you, we would have been unable to change the mask mandate and begin to return to life as normal. Our community clinics were an essential part of the fight against COVID. These clinics form an essential part of our healthcare arsenal and are often the closest to where people live and work. A full Golden Report can be accessed on the city's website, which is www.joburg.org.za. Well, as the new Joburg multi-party government, we laid out 7 mayoral priorities in line with what our residents asked us to do for them in this 5-year term. Our 7 priorities start with getting the basics right, getting the city functional again. That talks to the supply of energy, of electricity, water. Clean streets, roads that are tarred, and so on. So all the basics that will make it livable and a place to work and do business, but also a good place to visit for our tourists. Our second priority focuses on safety and security. And for this, what we promised our residents to do is to increase our boots on the ground in terms of the police force, but also to work in a more integrated fashion with other tiers of government and other law enforcement agencies. The third thing we promised our residents was to give them a caring city. That's a city that recognizes that not everybody in the city is the same. Some people require a little bit of help. Some people are vulnerable and marginalized, and some people can't afford to live in Johannesburg. And so we've identified those vulnerable groups and we are assisting them through various modalities. The fourth thing we promised our residents is to be a business-friendly city. A city that's open to do business, that cuts the red tape and makes it easy for the business sector to interface with government. Then we promised them an inclusive city, and this is through the provision of different housing modalities, but also inclusive settlements that also have social and community development amenities. Our priority number 6 is for a well-run city. Focuses on financial sustainability, focuses on the city being corruption-free, and it focuses on us having the right relationships with the regulators such as the National Treasury as well as the Auditor General. And our last priority is to give our residents a smart city making sure that Johannesburg is smart, from the institution itself, that we're doing everything in as smart a manner as possible, and that we incentivize smart solutions from all our departments and entities, but also that everything that we roll out on the ground is smart.